Okay, so yesterday we were finding slopes from the graph, basically by counting how many spaces up or down, and then counting how many spaces to the right. Now we're going to use the slope formula, okay? Now, you could graph these points on the coordinate grid there and then count the spaces again, but you're not always going to have graph paper with you. So A, I'll do both ways. Then after that, we're just going to practice the slope formula. But for part A here, if I graph the point negative 2, 0, it's right there, and then the point 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. So I can find the slope the same way I did yesterday by counting the spaces. So I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would go to the right, 1, 2, 3, and that's the slope. But like I said, we're not always going to have graph paper around. So here's the slope formula. Remember this? M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, don't let the y2s and the x1s and all that, don't let that mess with you. All the subscript does is tell you which point that coordinate comes from. So here's a pretty good little tip that will help. The first point they give me is x1, y1. So this is x1, y1. The second point they give me is x2, y2. So this one is x2, y2. And then what we do is we simply substitute the numbers in for the letters. So the slope equals. And then here, where the formula says y2, there's the y2. So that number is a 5, isn't it? You following me? Minus. And then here where the formula says y1. Well, here's y1. So that's a 0. Then we go to the denominator. We're looking for x2. Oops, I didn't want the 5 to move. No. Looking for x2. It's there, so that'll be a 1 minus, and then we're looking for x1. x1 is there, so it's a negative 2. It's a minus sign and then a negative 2. And then we simplify that. 5 minus 0 is 5. Now, you know what minus negative 2 means, right? It means plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. And we got the same slope that we did when we did it yesterday's method. So from here on out today, we're going to use the formula. You need to get good at even if you always did have graph paper with you, you need to get good at the formula. Okay? All right, you guys with me? All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. And on part B, let's use the formula. So M equals. Here's our formula. Y2. Y2, remember the first point is x1, y1. The second one is x2, y2. So y2 means the y coordinate of that second point, negative 3, minus y1. That's the y coordinate of the first point, 4. Then we move to the denominator. x2, that's the x coordinate of the second point, 2, minus x1, that's the x coordinate of the first point, negative 3. And then we simplify. And sometimes it's one step of simplifying. Every now and then it's 2 steps of simplifying. This time, let's see what it'll be. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And then 2 minus negative 3, that means 2 plus 3, so that's 5. And again, if you write it with the negative 7 over a positive 5, I'll take it. But really, negative 7/5 is a slightly better answer. B make sense? All right, on C. M equals. Then I'm using the formula again. Which of those numbers is y2? Yep, that -1 right there, minus, and then which of those numbers is y1? The other -1, divided by, what's x2? 2 minus -3. All right, so again, minus negative means plus. So the top is -1 plus 1. Well, that's 0. The bottom is 2 plus 3, 5. And what's 0 divided by any other number? So our answer is 0. Okay? Oh, come on. Any questions? You think you can use the formula? Hopefully. All right, do that one. Find the slope between those 2 points right there. -2, 4, and -2, -3. All right, we start off with the formula. First thing is y2. The y-coordinate of the second point, -3. Minus y1. The y-coordinate of the first point is 4. Over x2. The x-coordinate of the second point is -2. Minus x1. The x-coordinate of the first point is also -2. The biggest place students make mistakes is right there. Is you put the wrong number in the wrong place. Or maybe you put the right number in the wrong place. But anyway, you don't get the numbers in the right place. Okay? That's the biggest mistake. Then you start simplifying. -3 minus 4 is -7. -2 plus 2 is 0. And then you can't divide by 0. Another common mistake is people will say the answer is 0. All right? But when the 0 is on the bottom, that's an undefined. It's when the 0 is on the top that it's 0. 0 on the bottom, undefined. You think you got it? Do we need to do more examples, or are you ready to do your work? A couple more examples? All right. Do 4A, the one here on the left, and let's see how that one goes. Anybody get what I got? Now, since this is a slope, I like my answer to be a fraction, but we do know that 2 divided by 1 is 2. I'll take either of these as the correct answer for a slope, okay? If it wasn't slope, if it was something else, I'd want 2 for sure. But as a slope, 2 over 1 is as good as 2. So either one of those are fine with me. And I do want to talk about 4e for just a second, because look what happens. y2, 4, minus y1, 2, over x2, negative 6, minus x1, negative 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Make sure you reduce that fraction. These other examples we've run across, we didn't need to, but I want you to see, if you can reduce that fraction, you need to reduce it. Positive divided by negative, negative, and then 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. Make sure you reduce them if they can be reduced. All right? Any questions?